Hello, my name is Jacob and welcome to the Cinema Goat. This is my new movie channel, and today I'm going to quickly talk about the Disclosure Day, which is the film that you can still catch in the cinemas. Disclosure Day is the latest film by Steven Spielberg. It's his first film since 2022, which was The Fabelmans, which was pretty decent. Spielberg has made a bunch of films in the last 5-6 decades, and Disclosure Day revisits one of his classic themes, which is that of aliens and the contact with the aliens, and in this case specifically a disclosure of alien life on Earth. Disclosure Day is a sort of a spiritual sequel, or modern, it's like a modern reimagining of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and it's got a little bit of echoes of E.T. in certain moments, but it's definitely like a version of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's been released in the beginning of June 2026. It stars Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor in the main two roles, and it's got a cast of supporting characters, some of them Spielberg regulars. So it's got Colin Firth and Coleman Domingo and Eve Hewson. It's been scored by John Williams, who is a long-standing Steven Spielberg collaborator. The cinematography was done by Janusz Kaminski, which is another Spielberg regular. He's a Polish cinematographer. And it was written by David Koepp, who has written a bunch of Spielberg movies. The basic plot of Disclosure Day, spoiler-free, is that of Josh Connor's character being a whistleblower in the possession of information, very confidential information, about alien life on Earth, and as the title suggests, he intends to disclose it. And then Emily Blunt's character is a local TV news anchor who, if you've seen the trailer, has something very strange happening to her, which is obviously connected to the plot, and those two characters, the stories of those two characters will drive the plot forward, and as you may imagine, they will connect at some point. My overall impression of Disclosure Day is it's okay. It's a decent film. It's got a lot of flaws, but if you see it in cinema, as you should, it is generally an enjoyable and entertaining summer blockbuster, really. And then Spielberg obviously is pretty good at those. It's got those strong elements that will make it an enjoyable experience on the big screen. The main flaw of this film for me is the fact that it doesn't it is not brave in its storytelling. As I mentioned before, it is a modern version of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It is a story about discovering, about us as in humanity, discovering that there is an alien life, and it is in fact in contact with Earth in one way or the other. And as it's a modern film, it heavily involves the fact that we rely on smartphones and we've got internet, and the technology is much more developed than in a story like Close Encounters, which was a very different world back in the 70s. And my main problem with Disclosure Day is that even though the context of this film is reimagined of this trope of the story is reimagined for modern audiences, it doesn't really take it anywhere far. It doesn't make any strong statements. It's not that challenging. In the end, actually, it feels kind of insignificant as a film. A lot of ideas that Spielberg incorporated in this film and this story, also visually and thematically, these are things we are very familiar with because of the last 4 or 5 decades of cinema, there has been a lot of films tackling this subject and tackling aliens, alien life, and aliens and UFOs and all that, and knowing all those pop culture stories and films, there's just nothing really, there's not much fresh in Disclosure Day, and it just all feels kind of rehashed and very mild. I might have enjoyed the actual viewing in the cinema, as I usually do, because you are in a cinema and it creates a cinematic experience, but 24 hours later I'm just thinking about the flaws of the film and the fact that it's just not that good. Additionally, I find, while most of the performances were actually pretty good, I find that the actual characters were not particularly relatable. It is not a particularly, despite its emotional stakes, it's not a particularly emotional story. At least for me personally, I just didn't find it relatable. And then there's the last two scenes of the film actually are my favorite and least favorite scenes. So the very last scene of the film, I feel like the film tries to be somewhat optimistic, but I also feel like it can't quite decide in the end. And then the last scene feels quite naive, and frankly, I did not like it at all. And as I said before, the whole film kind of feels insignificant. But because I am generally a very optimistic person, I always recommend trying to find something for you in any film. I found several such things in Disclosure Day, so I'm gonna finish on the positive note. What did I like about the movie? First of all, Spielberg has a very one of the most famous names in director world, I guess. Visually, it's a very good movie, although if you're not a big fan of lens flare that Spielberg is apparently fond of, that there's quite a lot of them in the film, so that might be a bit annoying. It's a detail. In general, it's a very well executed film from a very experienced filmmaker. There's a couple of really good action sequences. The music is very solid. It's not one of the best John Williams soundtracks or one of the best soundtracks in Spielberg films, but it's still, you can't really get a bad music from that collaboration. The performances, as I said before, are pretty good. The general notion online seems to be that this is Emily Blunt's best performance yet, which I feel like I can agree with. She's doing a really good job, and she's definitely a standout. She definitely carries the movie a bit more than Josh O'Connor, who seems to be very big these days. I am not that convinced about him. I think he's a decent performer. He's a decent leading actor, but I just don't quite get the whole craze about him. And then there's a couple of supporting characters I really enjoyed. You've got Colin Firth, which plays very much against his usual cuddly type. He plays a villain, and he actually does it very well. It's actually pretty interesting. And then you've got Colman Domingo, who he's been up there. He's been making ripples in the last few years. He's been in a lot of big films. I think he's been nominated to a lot of awards in the last couple of years. I know him from television, from Fear the Walking Dead. But then he ended up being this big movie actor, and he's actually pretty good. The downside is his character doesn't actually have that much to do in Disclosure Day. And then finally, there is the penultimate scene of the film. If you've seen the film, you know which one that is. It's a very unique performance by an actress who is only featured in this film. She used to be a news anchor, and she plays a news anchor in the film, and I think she does a terrific job in that one scene that she's got. Coincidentally, that's also the scene which features my favorite piece of music from the whole film. So even though this is not a particularly memorable film for me, as in I enjoyed it in cinema, but a day or two later I was kind of over it. I am looking forward for it to be released, mainly just to watch that one scene, because it was great. So to wrap up, it was an okay movie. It definitely got its flaws, but it's a well-made cinema by people with a lot of experience, by Steven Spielberg and John Williams, with some good actors, and despite its flaws, it still has that sense of wonder that Spielberg often puts in his films. If I had to rate it 1 to 10, I would probably give it a 7, based on the fact that it was a cinema experience. Had I watched it at home, it would have probably been a 6 at most. Let me know what your ratings are in the comments below, and let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my thoughts. If you like this type of content, please click the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this to come. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.